Good morning, ladies. Hi, it's Leonard, and today I would like to give some morning motivation to you. Um, I know during this time, this pandemic, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and some people are still working at the same spots they were working at beforehand. And some people decide that they wanted to start some side hustles. Some people started working from home, and some people decided to start their own businesses. Now, all of those things, whichever one, is a different change in your life, or it might just be the same, especially if you decide to stay at the same job you were staying in. But today's topic I would like to talk about is staying at a toxic job and how staying at a toxic job can mentally hurt you. I know a lot of times we stay with a company regardless of how we're being treated and how we feel there because we know we have bills to pay and we need to be able to take care of our children, and society has taught us basically 9 to 5 is what is needed to succeed or to be stable within this world that we live in. My thing is sometimes I feel like we put the value of money over our own self or our own mental state. And it's definitely a horrendous thing to do for you, especially as a parent or even just as an individual. Basically, over some time, you end up having this feeling that money is worth more than what you are, that you are no longer important, and bills are basically worth more than your mental sanity. Being at a job where people are disrespectful to you, rude, they don't appreciate you at all. You feel like you're unhappy and you get upset every time you come there. You want to cry and have a mental breakdown, yet your bills have to be paid. Yet life still has to go on. What do you do? Do you stay there and just deal with it? Okay, so say you decide to stay there and deal with it. Okay, what happens then? Will over time, will they just stop? Will the feelings just stop? Or will they continue to manifest themselves? I stayed at a toxic job way too long. I knew it was a toxic job and I was ready to go. So I decided I was going to manifest the ideas of having my own business full time. I have a business, but it's more like part time, or even less than part time because I work so much and so many hours at my job that it became so strenuous to try to be a parent, a full-time parent, and an only parent, working a full-time job plus overtime, and also trying to run a business. Now, add in that it's a toxic job and I'm mistreated and not paid well, and it gives me a mental breakdown every time I go to it. So I decided, you know what, I want to make my part-time job my full-time job. I don't want to keep working at this company, and I want to be able to manifest my own money and be able to show my own worth, because obviously these people do not know my worth. So I decided I'm going to manifest that, and I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to speak about it. I'm going to have action. I'm going to move forward to it. I'm going to research it. I'm going to get knowledge, get certified in this, certified in that, handle this, handle that. And the whole while I'm doing this, I'm working hours and hours at my job, and I'm constantly going through the most ignorant, toxic situation and environment. And I'm feeling like maybe if I continue to ignore it, that it would just go away. But the thing is, I wasn't ignoring it. I was just letting it slide. And see, if it was a different situation, people would have got talk crazy too. I probably would have told a couple people where they can go and what they could do when they get there. But because I wanted to make sure I maintain my professionalism and make sure I keep my job, I was allowing my self-respect to tank. Basically, I was even getting upset with myself, like, why are you allowing these people to say these things? And don't get me wrong, that was going to management, and I even had meetings with HR, and it had got so bad that HR didn't even care. They were uncooperative, unhelpful. The whole culture of the company was just definitely a bad vibe, and it really stung. So it was time to move forward and do my own thing. you guys have ever been a single parent of four, just bought a house, gets no assistance at all, and deciding to quit your job because it's toxic and because you want to be able to do your own thing. It's scary. It feels like you're crazy. Anytime you talk to anybody else about it, they tell you you're crazy. Oh, don't do it. Keep your job. Save up 6 months worth of salary or income first. Make sure you got a little money stacked up. Start your business first and have money rolling really, really good before you quit your job. And all those things sound really good. They do. I've actually even done some of those things before. Got like at least 3 or 4 months worth of money stacked and decided to move, and things went left, and I was homeless within the first month I was there. So stuff like that doesn't always qualify that you're going to be successful in your business, or that you won't go through hard times or trials and tribulations after you quit your job and you try to go into your own business, especially if it's the type of business that acquires a lot of your time and a lot of your attention. And I'm a welder, so being a welder is an exhausting job. It's a dangerous job. It's a mental job. I love it, but at the same time, it's extremely hard to work 60, 65 hours in hot sun, dirty, tired, your limbs hurting, and can't hardly think, and then want to go home and think that, between the time of you trying to get 3 or 4 hours of get to eat, talk to the kids, and try to get some sleep, or use 1 or 2 of those hours of trying to build your business. And that's what I was also doing, and it was the most craziest situation ever. But at the same time, fear was so strong that it didn't matter that it was a toxic situation. It didn't matter that I knew I was worth way more. The fear was so strong until finally I had a mental break. Finally, I had had enough of the hostile work environment. I had had enough of feeling like I didn't think I was worth a damn for even allowing me to continue to stay in a situation where people were showing me that I wasn't worth a damn to them. It was excruciating. It was hard to deal with, and I ended up having a mental breakdown once or twice, almost 3 times, to the point that it was like, you know what? I have to move. And the thing is, you can't manifest something you want and say you want something different and do all the things that you're supposed to do to get up to that point, and then you get to the point to cut the cord, and then you back. The thing is, you've already manifested so many actions to try to get to that situation that now it's going to seem crazy to stop right in the middle when you've already burned the bridge of where you were. And I feel like, the toxic work environment just kept amping up to the point that I had no choice but to jump. And I feel like sometimes it's like, you give yourself the option to jump. Put, like I said, burn the bridge behind you, and now you're like, okay, now I'm about to go ahead and cross this line because the bridge is burnt behind me. And then you realize, oh my gosh, the bridge is burned, and I don't really know if I can do this. And then you stand there like a fool waiting on the fire to get almost close to your feet until it's the point that it's no longer your choice that you have to jump. You have to jump because you burnt your bridge behind you. And there's nothing wrong with that in that type of scenario, because sometimes, you have to put yourself into a position where you can't back up, where, when you had the strength to believe that you could do these things, is where you wish your mind frame would stay. But at the same time, fear is so strong, so you had to kind of trick yourself and make sure that you were going to go ahead and jump, and that's why you burnt the bridge. Now, what was I so afraid of from the jump? Well, I was afraid of me having to be in charge of my success. I was afraid of having to be myself and put myself out there as me. I was afraid that people would not enjoy me or even understand where I'm coming from, and that I'd be so different that it wouldn't work out. But I had manifested myself so tough that this is who I am and who I will be no matter what, that it starts to become detrimental to try to go backwards. It becomes just a lost cause to try to be who I used to be and think that I'm going to still be sanely okay with it. Even when no one else believes in you, even when everyone is telling you do something different, even when you're scared out your mind, even when it seems like you're not even in control, it seems like a dream, just keep moving forward. Honestly, I've fallen so many times, but I've gotten back up so many more times. So what's the fear of falling? Falling, I seem to got that then. I've been on my low. I know how it is to be low. I know how to look for food pantries. I know how to look up the numbers to try to get assistance. But you know what I don't know? I don't know how it feels to be tremendously successful within my own rights. So if fear is falling, then I know how to do that. What I want to know is how it feels to soar in the sky. I want to know how it feels to live a life according to what I believe I should be. I want to live a life freely, freely to be me without offending other people, freely to be me and be able to show the world the best version of me. And the only way I could do that was to give up something else to gain something else in return. Because when you say you want wine instead of water, the only way you can put the wine in the glass is if you remove the water. Because if you try to put wine in a glass of water that's already full, all it's going to do is overflow. And all the wine is going to hit the floor. But if you pour that water out that cup, now you have room for the wine. And the problem is so many people are afraid to let go of their water. My thing is, if the water's not what you want, it's not where you want to be, then why be afraid to let it go? Because you're afraid of having nothing? Is something better than nothing? Is a little something really better than nothing? And my thing is, when we say these things, that's what we are basically casting our life into. As in, you know what, my life is okay to have a little water. Yes, I want wine, but I'm not willing to give up my water for this wine. Well, then stop complaining and understand that you have control of your life, and you decide to leave the water in the cup. That you decided that that's not the road you want to take. You decided that you wanted the wine, but you didn't want to work for the wine. You didn't want to push over the cup. You weren't ready to take those steps. And then you see on social media so many people doing so good. Oh, she got $1 million. Her friends helped her. Oh, she got a great job, got degrees. Oh, she just bought a house. Oh, they just got married. Oh my gosh, why are all these so great, awesome things happening to these people? Oh, it seems like they just had success overnight. Oh, I went to school with her. Look at her now. She ain't an NFL player. But we be so focused on where people are and what they got going on that we aren't focused on the steps to get us where we need to be. Nobody's an overnight success. People had to work diligently. People had to handle business. They had to be dedicated, motivated, determined. They had to wake up late nights, willing to have some type of mental disability at the end of the night from not getting enough sleep, from trying to maximize their craft. You know, Will Smith says it best where, talent is great, but without hard work, it's nothing. And, I greatly believe in that. My thing is, you're never going to be the best in things if you never try. In the beginning, you might not be that great, but you have to keep pushing yourself. If you're not willing to push yourself and fight for yourself, then no one else will. You have to decide. You have to decide how much you are worth to yourself. Love yourself and watch people love you back. I hope you enjoyed this moment of motivation. Once again, I am Lynette, and please leave a comment if you enjoy my motivation. And if not, I understand. Everybody has their own preferences. But I think we're at a time where we need more leaders and people who are available to motivate the masses. And I see there's a lot of motivational speakers when it comes down to men, and Sarah Jake's, T.D. Jake's daughter. Oh, she seems like a great motivator, and I enjoy what she says. But I think that we need more and more people to help to the masses, more and more people to be able to talk to people when they feel like they have nobody else, when there is no one else around to talk to, that they can say, hop on YouTube or get on a podcast and hear something, someone telling them how important they are, how beautiful they are, to keep going, to never give up. That life is whatever you make it, and regardless of who did what, said what, whatever your past was, doesn't even matter. My thing is, it doesn't matter if no one else loves you. It doesn't matter if no one else seems to be around you. Love yourself. You are enough. And I just want to let you ladies know that. Until next time. Peace.